The Rundown is brought to you by Commonwealth Brewery Limited. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the broadcast. It's great to have all of you with us for another week. Well, the matter involving, and we know her name very well, Murphy Knowles and the Carey family of Grand Bahama, still the talk around the country tonight. It's still being talked everywhere you go. At last report, Ingrid Carey and her family are in a safe corner of the island, patiently awaiting their next move. And of course, that's expected to happen anytime soon. As a police investigation is underway, we're tonight taking a closer look at care for the elderly. Now, October is being celebrated as Older Persons Month, and of course, according to the 2022 census, 6,077 residents are 65 years and older. Now, the Ministry of Social Services, Information and Broadcasting is taking the lead in government to ensure our senior citizens are well taken care of, right? That's important. But what happens when one of them have been diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's disease? Now, according to a U.S.-based report at Mayo Clinic, Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia. Did you hear that? It's the most common cause of dementia, right? Or Alzheimer's disease. And now, important for you to know about this is that the fact is this association is also soliciting the government to swiftly implement a national dementia plan, stressing the importance of safeguarding vulnerable seniors and exploitation among them, particularly those with dementia. Now, then there's a former National Insurance Board executive who tonight joins us to express her concern about the perceptions that many people have when it comes to the National Insurance Board and benefits. And we're going to talk about that because that's an important part of this equation, right? Because people are wondering when they heard about how the checks were being distributed and how checks were being collected by a home and used. Is that even possible? Is that even a part of the Act? National Insurance Board Act? Well, we'll find out. We're going to talk to someone who we call the walking act herself. She knows the act inside out. She's retired, but she can tell you whether what we've been hearing is actually true. And then, of course, right after the break, we're going to get an update on how Ingrid Carey is doing now that she's back in the care of her family. So it's an exciting show ahead tonight. We're going to get lots of information, lots of clarification, and like we say, we deal with nothing but the facts here on The Rundown. And it all begins right after the break.
Covering the news seems easy, but we put thought into what we're doing. The Bahamas Tonight Access Now, here to inform, educate, and entertain. A new type of newscast featuring social media trends, news from around the islands, interviews with the people you like, sports, weather, and fabulous entertainment. That's a Bahamas Tonight Access Now with Marcellus Hall and LaDon Davis. Live, starting September 16th.
From the sugar to the jam to the pigeon peas and coconut milk. I love JBI products. My favorite product is the ginger tea. My favorite item would be the peas and coconut milk. For the day, I'm trying out their white cane sugar. I want to say I've been buying this now for 5 years. It gives me a good kick in the morning.
Whenever my mommy cooks, she must and will put the JBI corn inside my tuna and rice.
Anytime I make my sky juice, I always use JBI condensed milk. It's really good.
All of the products are exceptional.
Try JBI.
Happy anniversary, JBI. Happy 30th year anniversary, JBI. Happy 30th anniversary, JBI.
Thank you, Bahamas.
Welcome back. Well, last week I sat down with the players involved in the matter involving Home Away from Home proprietor Murphy Knowles and members of Ingrid Carey's family. Just a quick recap, Northern Service News team, as you know, broke that story that Carey allegedly gifted her home to Knowles without the knowledge of her immediate family. Dr. Sandy Boleg came into the picture on Friday. She joined us live tonight from Grand Bahama with this update. Good evening, Dr. Boleg. It's great to see you again. How are you?
I'm good. It's a pleasure to have me on tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's get right into what we're going to talk about. First of all, what is happening now? How is Ingrid Carey doing? She's now with the family. Tell us how that's going.
She's doing, you would not believe that it is the same person on Friday to compare to the last 48 hours. She's very talkative, very lively, energetic. It's literally unbelievable. Her even tone, complexion, her skin she is as beautiful as she used to be. So she's doing very well, and it's clear that she is very comfortable in the setting, which is among her family, that's bringing out a whole lot of things.
I was about to ask you, is she aware of what has transpired and what has been going on regarding her over the past few days? Is she even aware of what's happening, that she's no longer in this home? What is her view on this, and is she even aware of it?
Certain things that she is alluding to clearly indicates that she is a little understanding of the matter because of certain comments that she makes. And it's like, really? Are you serious? Why did you take so long to come and get me? Or some of the comments. You left me in this place. And some other things that I would rather not say on television live. And I sent you some information. It's just unbelievable. So she may not be 100%, but she's quite cognizant of a different environment, a different setting with family members, and she's more in a relaxed mode.
How is she responding to care as far as eating, as far as the eating habits, as far as her regular routine habits? Is she conversational? Has the family even tried to talk to her about what has transpired to get her viewpoint on it? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, first and foremost, she is actually saying she wants a favorite meal. She wants her barbecue chicken and she wants pizza. If not, she's going to starve. She said, in other words, I'm going to go on a starvation. So they actually called me today and said, listen, Doc, she wants chicken, she wants pizza. So that clearly indicates that with her being able to have that level of appetite for her favorite food, that she obviously is more in a comfortable setting and a more comfortable zone. Now, our caregiving is, phenomenal. It's tremendous. We have that round the clock. I have them calling me and say, who's going to take the next shift? Because I'm sleepy. She kept me up all night talking because she's actually sharing highlights of what we don't know what occurred on the inside. And it's just amazing to see that, okay, she's coming to her normal self because she is spewing out certain information, as I am saying, and I have made you privy to.
I know we don't want to discuss at this point some of the things she said, but based on what she said, has it raised your eyebrows based on some of the things that she's commented on?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If I was to categorize it from a psychological standpoint, I would literally categorize it as brainwashing.
Wow. Wow. So what is the next move now for her? I know that they're staying in a temporary location. What is the next move? Their home is going to be vacated in a week. Tell us what's the next move.
Well, if you go back to Friday of last week, we are now in the fourth day of the seventh week, the seventh day of the week. And so in another 3 days, it was on my agenda today to make that call to get an update on how far you are in your packaging and preparing for your to vacate the premises. And I'm going to do that first thing in the morning because it's expedient that we get her back in her environment. And I'm sure once that is done, we will even get more insight of what occurred during her stay at the institution.
And of course, what is the plan? I know because the kind of care you provide is to have health providers actually in the patient's home. Is that what's going to be happening? Who's going to be living with her? How is that going to be worked out?
Yes, we actually have, like I stated earlier, around-the-clock care currently. So when she gets into the home, we're actually going to employ a live-in, not just caregiver, but a live-in registered nurse, a retired, actually registered nurse that we anticipate living in the home with her, because if there's any medical challenges for whatever reason, there would be a qualified RN on staff to handle that. And this is why we need to appeal to the corporate Bahamas for donations and sponsorship with regards to this.
Of course, definitely. I know another thing that was of concern is, of course, perhaps finding something for Philippa so that she could relocate back to Grand Bahama and find work. That appeal is still going out for job opportunities for her so that she can move back home. Is that still what the family is hoping to be able to do?
Yes, I did hear a little birdie in the air say that, and I think if that is correct, because I have not been able to reach out yet to the Minister of Grand Bahama, but I was informed in the air that the Ministry of Grand Bahama is looking into measures of assisting. So that's allegedly, because I have not called the minister yet. I
kind of heard the same thing, so I think we're hearing correct then, because I kind of heard the same thing. So I think the Ministry of Grand Bahama is looking to provide some level of assistance with that regard as well.
We always say, there's a saying, the sickest don't go the quickest. Mm-hmm. Philippa has gone through a tremendous stress and turmoil. However, we literally want her to have a break. So we said tonight, you're just going to take a break. You're going to have some care and me time. You don't have to worry about your mom. We've got her covered. So we gave her actually the night off. So she's very happy about that.
That's good. I'm looking forward to some me time too. I need the night off as well. So the deadline here obviously is 7 good days. She got 7 good days. She's down now to 4 being left, 4 being left before the home is
correct.
Before the home is vacated.
We're actually going to have the beautician and the makeup artist come in on Friday and literally doll Mrs. Carey up. So when we take her back to her home, she can kind of feel like her old self. So we're going to have that done on Friday. And I mean, everybody's excited to see the transformation. Having her hair cut, nice makeup done as we know her to be.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be a great time. Hopefully our cameras will be there to capture the look on her face when she returns home as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Bullock, for talking with us.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
All the best to you. All right.
Thank you.
And when we come back tonight, we're talking to representatives from the association that deals with persons who may be challenged with Alzheimer's, dementia, to find out what are the signs. You need to know this. Right? Because we don't want to become a reactive, I should say, society. We want to be proactive so that you can, if you have elderly ones, what do you need to be watching for? especially people who may want to prey on them or take advantage of them. We want to talk about that, and then you cannot go. National insurance, what should have been the right procedure? What is the right procedure? What does the law say? We're going to get into that discussion. You're watching The Rundown. Where else you got to go? Right here. We're back after the break. Stick with us.
That's the bearer of the Bahamas. I like to go down. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Is the Little Caesars Stuffed Crust Pizza. Get more pizza for less money. Only $12. It's a whole new level of pizza with cheese stuffed crust so spectacular that there's nothing left.
Pizza.
A delicious pepperoni pizza with the crust stuffed with lots of cheese and brushed with butter and garlic flavor and sprinkled with Parmesan cheese. Hot and ready Thursday to Saturday between 4 and 8 for only $12. Simply irresistible. And only at Little Caesars.
Pizza.
I don't know, but there's all kind of cars in the parking lot. You ain't even know where to park. Again, that's no parking. Look at this way. Like, you ain't getting nowhere to go. Don't park. Just don't park.
Don't park over here in this handicap.
No, you can't park in the handicap spot.
I ain't gonna be that long. I ain't gonna be that long.
Handicap spot there.
Boy, what's going on, dog?
I tell you we shouldn't park here now. This way parking,
I tell you we shouldn't park here.
Don't get one of these things. My bar big broke, and he got a sticker inside to say this model. We gotta move this handicap spot.
That's what we gotta move.
But we gotta move. Don't. We can move right now. Sorry.
Be considerate. Don't use disabled parking spaces without a decal in your vehicle. This message is brought to you by the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities.
Welcome back to The Rundown. Of course, we want to say special good night to all of you who are in the Lion's Den. I see you in the Lion's Den. I see you. I do. And those of you watching by YouTube as well, on any other social media platform, welcome to the show. Good to have all of you with us. Well, founded in 2020, the Bahamas Alzheimer's Association works to raise awareness and improve the quality of care for those affected by Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia. The association issued a press release this past Friday calling on the government to urgently address the lack of regulation in elder homes following the situation in Grand Bahama. Here with us tonight is President Dr. Wendy Poitier. And of course, I got to get to the next name because it's not in the teleprompter. Ladies, welcome. Tell us your name.
Anilla Clark.
Anilla Clark, thank you. Wendy's coming on in the next segment. You tell us your name as well.
I'm Deidre Clark Maycock.
Deidre Clark Maycock. Thank you, ladies, for joining us from The Rundown. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you.
Let's talk to us first about this, because I think sometimes out of these challenges that we face, I always see the positive silver lining is always we get more highlighting information on diseases and matters that people should pay a little more attention to. And for some reason to me, and maybe it's just perception, but it seems that a lot of our elderly, especially Bahamians, are being plagued with Alzheimer's or dementia more than, the other stuff that we've seen before. It just seems to be a growing trend now that a lot of our senior citizens are experiencing this. So first of all, tell us what it is, because I'm trying to figure out, is there something that's causing more and more Bahamians when they get older to have Alzheimer's or dementia? What's causing it?
Well, the president will give you more information on the causes and everything, but as far as I'm aware, you spoke about there's been an increase in the knowledge of persons with dementia. I think dementia's been around for a very, very long time, but we didn't think of it as dementia. We used to say, oh, this person is just doting, or this person...
Yeah, that's the term you say a lot. She doting.
Right, she doting.
Yeah.
So, but the numbers indeed have increased substantially, and it is projected to even double within the next 10 to 20 years.
Why?
eating habits, lifestyle, sometimes it's hereditary, and, health is a holistic thing.
Eating habits and lifestyles can contribute.
Everything. It can. And so you have, and even trauma in people's lives can also cause persons to experience dementia. So it's a gamut of reasons which will cause a person to suffer from dementia. And I'm a caregiver. I would think my mother doesn't have a history of dementia in her family, but yet she has dementia. So I'm assuming it's lifestyle patterns and or maybe some trauma she experienced early in her life. These things is a combination of things. At least that's what was told by our physician.
Right.
That it was perhaps trauma that she experienced earlier in life. But we have decided that even though the numbers have increased, because the numbers have increased, and I will say to you, it is not just older persons who are suffering from dementia.
Really?
You have younger persons being diagnosed with dementia. You have persons in their 40s and 50s who are now being diagnosed with dementia. And
Really?
And the reason why it's coming earlier, I can't say, and that's why we need the dementia plan in place, so we can do research and figure out what is causing the increase. What is causing the age to be lower than it has been in the past? So we need the dementia plan. Well, first and foremost, the Bahamas Alzheimer's Association is working. We signed on in 2017 to put in place. The Bahamas signed on in 2017 to put in place a dementia plan.
What is a dementia plan?
Dementia plan is a written plan that is prepared to assist the government and non-governmental agencies to ensure the protection of persons who are suffering from dementia, them and their caregivers.
So it leads obviously to an act in Parliament that will provide protection.
Right, protection in and not just protection, and also making sure that they're diagnosed at an early age. I mean, diagnosis and so forth of dementia detected earlier, but protection to ensure that they have proper caring. They have their finances and their, like right now, the same issue that you were talking about. It's so sad that everything that the lady who the doctor spoke about, these are things that we want a person with dementia to have throughout their life. Once they've been diagnosed with dementia, we want them to be able to have their living in a comfortable environment, living with their family, not having to move from out their houses. But because of the way the world is, people have to work. So they may have to put their parents or their loved ones in a home. And even if they don't put them if they put them in a home, we need to make sure that the home is regulated. There are policies in place.
I just want to say, because you can put somebody in a home, but if people there don't know how to care for somebody with dementia, it's another problem.
So if policies are not in place to ensure that the home is ran properly, and the person who is, and the homes are not just for persons with dementia, but so you make sure that the homes are run properly, that the caregivers are knowledgeable about what they should do and what they shouldn't do, the extent they're supposed to go to. Now, I just want to say too that a lot of times we put in place plans and it's not carried out because people aren't aware. So one of the purposes of the dementia plan too is to bring awareness, so that people know. Some people may think that, oh yeah, I could. If this person tell me I could have their property, there's nothing wrong with it because they're not aware that they're doing something wrong.
Correct.
So the dementia plan would make sure that you know you're not supposed to do this, you know you're supposed to be doing that, you know you're supposed to be doing... So we're putting in place policies to ensure that everybody acts in accordance with, in the best interest of their carers, as well as the caregiver stays out of problems by following the protecting themselves, actually, by not doing what they should do and not what they should. But
of course, there has to be a diagnosis, right?
Of course.
I know in the case of this story, the caregiver was saying there was never a diagnosis. She took her to clinics and doctors, nobody ever diagnosis. But the family obviously seems to feel they know a lot more because of her history, that there is something that's clearly wrong. I think the plan, does a plan speak to a process as from the diagnosis to what should happen?
Right, it absolutely does. And the National Dementia Plan is we have a subcommittee of the Bahamas Alzheimer's Association, so we're actually not reacting to the incident that occurred in Grand Bahama. We've been proactively putting together these drafts that we want to have a conversation with our government. So when we say we're calling for the government to implement the plan, we're actually saying, hey, government, call us because we're calling on you. We're saying to the government, help us to help you because we're the caregivers who've walked through this experience. So one of the action points of our dementia plan has to do with exactly what you said, the diagnosis. And we talk about treatment because if you can get a diagnosis early, then you have the opportunity to delay some cognitive decline. So you can have more of Grammy with you for a longer period if you go ahead and not ignore those warning signs. So our president will talk more about some warning signs.
Because I want to find out what are those signs and how do you know when someone is deteriorating and so forth.
Right.
This plan obviously should be something that any progressive nation should have.
Absolutely.
How close are we to getting this to Parliament?
Well, we have, like Nella said, we have a subcommittee that is working furiously. We've just come out of a month of celebration of World Alzheimer's Awareness Month. So we're now focusing on putting the plan. It is estimated that we will give a first draft to the government in the new year. Now, and that first draft is just us coming together and putting our views, our beliefs, being caregivers as well, on paper.
Will it be a consultation period?
Yes. There will be a consultation period, hopefully, because, well, not hopefully, we're going to submit our draft to the government, and that draft will have to go through its process, and hopefully that process is consultation with stakeholders such as the doctors, caregivers, associations, even caregivers themselves, because we don't know all the answers. Educators, every segment that is affected out there, we want to hear what they say, whether we have everything in this plan. Because at the end of the day, this plan is supposed to support and protect every one of us, all of our loved ones who have been diagnosed. And I must say too, Clint, we're sitting here talking. Next 10 years, or even less, we may be suffering from dementia. You understand me? So we need to safeguard our interests as well.
So, I guess I'm going to ask you, President Bobby, answer that. Because what is dementia? For just not forgetting, just for not remembering, not being able to put thoughts together, or is it a lot more than that?
It is a lot more than that. It is a lot more than that. Persons misunderstand or mistake dementia as a mental disability.
Right.
It is not a mental disability, because you could take medicine, and if you have a psychological mental disability, you could take medicine and correct your illness, or assist in controlling your mental disability. But with Alzheimer's, there's no return. I mean, it's like once you have Alzheimer's, the only thing the doctors so far, and that's why research is so important, the only thing that the doctors can do is give you medicine to slow down the process. But it's eventual that it will take over at some point in time. There's no cure for dementia. And that's sad. And because there's no cure for dementia, we are trying to make sure that individuals live a comfortable life during that time that they are having been diagnosed with dementia.
Wow.
And
All right.
can I just
Sure,
say,
please.
Can I just say to that, the reason why we're asking the government of the Bahamas, what's your plan? We also want to say that to you, Clint, what's your plan? And to all of your viewers, we have to have individual plans while we have our cognitive faculties to consider, what do I want? Can I say that now while I have my soundness of mind to my loved ones, so they know this lady or this man who's saying, Auntie Grammy wanted so-and-so, we know that's not what she said when she had her soundness of mind. So we encourage you to develop an individual plan for what if, because it's not inevitable. We recognize that Alzheimer's and dementia, it's not a normal part of aging, but what if? Like you said, their numbers are going higher and higher, perhaps because we're not ignoring it as much. But dementia is like the 6th leading cause of death in the world.
Wow.
So we're not alone. And the Bahamas has a lot of risk factors for dementia. We're number 4 in obesity in the world. That's one of our risk factors. High blood pressure, diabetes. These are things that go into your plan for how do I do my best to protect my health, the health of your brain. Because dementia truly is brain failure. It's you're living, but your brain is dying. So while we're talking about people having plans, even wills, for when they die, we also need to have a plan for while we're alive, but perhaps our brain is failing, our brain is dying. So that's very important. What's your plan is the question that we want to pose to everyone who's watching and the government of the Bahamas. Let's create a plan so that we protect everyone who can be us in 5, 10, 15 years.
Wow. Thank you, ladies. When we come up, we're going to talk to your president, find out what are the signs, what are the warning signs, the risk factors. You need to know it. And then a little later, national insurance. What are your rights? What should you not be doing? Leave people checks alone, man. We're back after this. Stay with us.
Beginning Monday, September 16th, it's the new lineup of ZNS News and Current Affairs, 6 p.m. It's What's Trending, Lifestyles in the Afternoon with Stacey Campbell Marshall, 6:30. We head to the north for the Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition, 7 p.m. It's the Bahamas Tonight National Report, followed by the Bahamas Tonight Access, now at 7:30. Then, at 8 p.m., your nightly news analysis show, The Rundown, with Clint Watson, and 11 p.m., the Bahamas Tonight at 11 with Royston Jones. It's a full lineup of the new ZNS, and it starts Monday, September 16th. Only the sun covers the Bahamas better.
We've come to appreciate the JBI product. Simply doesn't matter where they're staged or where they're located. We always realize that JBI has the best pricing and the best quality of food. In particular, my favorite is corned beef. I was a hometown boy. So if I can purchase anything, it can be this JBI corned beef straight through.
As you get a bit older, you become more discriminating and what you put in your bodies. And all of this is natural stuff. So I am happy to promote the Junkanoo Punch.
I actually compared it to a couple of brands, and this is the one of choice. This one, just the Can't Fail brand. So,
Fried JBI.
Happy 30th anniversary, JBI.
Happy 30th anniversary to JBI.
Thank you, Bahamas.
We're back now with Bahamas Alzheimer's Association President Wendy Poitier-Aubrey. We're talking about the risk factors, and we're talking also about the warning signs of dementia. And thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, let's talk about the risk factors. What are the risk factors for dementia?
Well, there are quite a number of risk factors. Some of them are associated with your daily lifestyle, things that you do, like physical inactivity. Ms. Clark talked about it before, your obesity, hypertension, diabetes, those types of things. And those are things that you personally have to do. But we also have some things like environmental factors, things that the individual themselves may not have control over. And so again, as we talked about before, that is why it is important for government, for governments, for public policy to be in place to deal with things like education, because they found that persons with lesser education, they have a higher risk of developing dementia and Alzheimer's. Air pollution. It's important to ensure that we have, it's important to ensure that you have, where they find persons who are exposed to air pollution, those things that are in the air, they too have a higher risk factor. And so these are things that governments can do. You don't have the control over those things, but the government, that is why it's important for government to ensure that they have in place plans to ensure that these things are not happening to their people. Individuals themselves, again, we talk about making a plan for you. You can make sure that, you watch your weight. You watch the food that you're eating. You make sure you have physical activity, because we find that persons who are stagnant, physical activity and mental activity, you keep your...
Interesting to see infrequent social contact.
Exactly. So persons, just sitting home, they're not getting involved with other people, they're not... that's why it's important to get involved with your church, get involved with activities, social clubs, to help stimulate, because it's all a part of brains. And if you're stimulating your brain, making sure that your brain is keeping active, even doing things like they talk about crossword puzzles, doing Sudoku, those type of things, just to make sure, reading, learning a different language, believe it or not.
Really?
If you learn a new language, that too helps to build your brain activity.
Anything that stimulates the brain.
Everything. Thank you. So,
depression.
Again, for persons who might be, again, not moving, not becoming involved. When we talk about the movement, you're being reclusive. Stepping back and not being fully present in what is happening. Those types of things as well are some of the risk factors associated. Smoking, alcohol, drug use, those types of things are some of the risk factors associated with the development.
Now let's talk about the warning signs that somebody is experiencing dementia. What are those signs?
And remember, we said it's not necessarily age, because some people think, they're just getting old. That mean that they it's not.
You forget that is old age.
No, and it's not necessarily. But if persons have, say, a change in their mood or behavior, they never used to be so reclusive, or they were usually outgoing, that might be an indication. Hey, let's check for that. When you see people who, they used to run a business and they were able to move and make sure things were happening, now they can't even balance their checkbook.
Wow.
Those are the type of things. So you see now disorientation with time, place. What is happening here? What's going on?
Right.
Those are some of the things you might want to say, hey, let me check. And people say, memory loss, they doubting. It's not just say, I forget where I put my keys. It's the fact that you don't even know you had keys.
Okay, that makes it a little bit better, because sometimes I don't remember stuff.
Yeah, I put them keys.
And I get upset at myself because I don't remember something. I'm like, hold on now, this is a sign of something. But it's just I don't remember something.
Yeah.
I'm saying I should know this, but I don't remember it.
Exactly.
But that's different from not even recognizing that you even knew it existed.
So there is the difference between, when we talk about memory loss, it's not just, because you had keys.
Right.
I just, I put that.
Where I put it. Right.
But for persons who, when we talk about memory loss, they don't even know that they would have had keys, those types of things. We also had, I'm going to tell you about my personal story with my father-in-law. He was driving, and he had parked on the side of the road, and some record drivers, this was right where AF Adley is, and there's the record drivers across the way, and he said, I saw this man sitting in the car, and it's about 3 or 4 hours. He was sitting there, and he went over to find out what would happen. And he said, I'm trying to get to my son's house. What had happened, they had just changed the road, on Blue Hill Road, they changed, and they put in the roundabout, and so he did not recognize, he did not remember, or even know that, hey, this is where you should go. So those types of things, you have to be careful and watch out for when persons have the keys, or when they're driving. They might be driving down the wrong side of the road, because when they were growing up, or when they knew themselves, this is the way the direction was.
The gap takes place.
Exactly. It's something that it's no longer there, or they would have the memories of what happened long ago. Because that's what we find with persons who have dementia. They can remember old songs, they can remember things from a long time ago, but that short-term memory is no longer there.
Will people sometimes cause mood swings? They get angry, they get upset,
And again, that too can be because they know something is wrong, but they just can't put their hands on it. And when we're talking too about, I just wanted to add one of the things too, one of the groupings that you want to have involved with the National Dementia Plan is some of those persons who are in the early stage. Because if you are in the early stage of dementia, persons can still recognize, they can still contribute, they can still do things. And they know, I know something wrong. But they can also recognize as well, there are certain things that I want to have and that I want to do to make sure. That is why early diagnosis is so important. Because when you get that early diagnosis, you know, okay, that the cognitive decline is coming because we know there's no cure. There's something to slow it down. But I know I can now put things in place. I can make sure my estate is planned. I can make sure that my family knows what my wishes are. I want to be cared for in this way, and I'm making plans to ensure that these things are put in place.
Is there a stigma attached to it? Are people afraid to say, I have dementia?
That is one of the things where we are trying to bring, the Bahamas Alzheimer's Association is trying to bring awareness to persons to know, hey, families to know, people to know, just because you've been diagnosed with dementia doesn't mean that's the end of the story. You can still make a contribution in the early stages because we know there's the early stage, middle stage, and then there's the final stage, of course, when persons are not able to do anything for themselves. Early stage dementia, they even have in places like in Europe and England, they have dementia associations. Persons who have early stage or diagnosed with early stage dementia, and they are a part of groups and associations, and they are able to function and they're able to make contributions. And so we were trying to see if we can bring that type of attitude here to the Bahamas, where persons who, even though they have dementia, they can still make a contribution. Their families, there's no need to say, oh, they're going to lock them in the back room. We ain't going to bring them out. Bring them out. Have them become involved and let people know that you can still function, you can still do certain things. You'll not be able to do maybe everything that you used to do before, but you can do certain things. So that stigma, definitely, we're trying to make sure we have dementia-friendly societies. And again, that is what the National Dementia Plan will ensure as well.
Bahamas Alzheimer's Association obviously put in place to be able to help people deal with this.
Yes, definitely. To educate, to support families, to support the caregivers as well, to make sure when you go to the hospital, even sometimes the doctors don't know, but educating the doctors as well, how are you going to deal with this person who has dementia? Because you cannot deal with them like how you would deal with somebody who, as Deidre had said before, it's not a mental illness. So you can't deal with them like you would deal with somebody who has a mental illness. There are certain things that you have to be able to be aware of and how to conduct yourself and how to deal with persons with dementia and Alzheimer's.
But Dr. Wendy Poydel, you really shared a whole lot of information for us. I think we all now are more aware of what we need to be doing and now aware of the association. And you need to reach out to the association. Please do. How can they reach out to the association?
We do have a telephone number. It's 535-4260. I'm looking at here right now, 535-4260. We have our Facebook page, Bahamas Alzheimer's Association, and also we have Instagram, Bahamas ALZ 242. And you can, and our Gmail, Bahamas, BAHAMAS, ALZ 242 at gmail.com. Facebook, Bahamas Alzheimer's Association, and also Instagram, Bahamas Alzheimer's Association.
So reach out to them before you forget.
Yes.
All right? Reach out before you forget.
Yes.
That's important because you can get the help that you need. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
So much for having us here.
When we come back, National Insurance Board, they issued a statement. We're going to talk about that and really what rights you have and who should have your money and who should be doing what with your money. We're going to have that next with the Walking NIB Act. She's here. We're back after this. Stay close.
Clint Watson has been the trusted voice of journalism for over 2 decades. He is your first choice for hard-hitting discussions, your best choice for current affairs issues and investigative journalism. It's time to start the journey of relentless journalism. It's time to start the journey of facts over fiction. It's time for the Rundown with Clint Watson here on ZNS, where only the sun covers the Bahamas better.
Hey, what's up, Mario?
Hey, dear, what's going on?
Have you seen ZNS new digital platforms?
No. Let me go check it out.
Good day, Bahamas. I'm Devontae Hanna, and this is ZNS Digital,
where we cater to your news and entertainment needs. Are you a foodie? I thought so. Then look out for Digital Bites.
shining a light on Bahamians and the good that they do. ZNS Digital is home to the sunshine one.
Keeping up with the latest trends, our original content will keep you entertained.
Yeah, that's cool.
But have you seen the new website?
No, I didn't see it. Let me go look.
We're still your most trusted source for news and information.
That's ZNS Digital?
Yeah, that's ZNS Digital, the people station in your pocket.
The disabled person, a lot of times we feel like it's just us. And I recognize, even through my bone cancer journey and receiving an amputation, that it was time to join the community around me. So I started to dive into sports, adaptive sports, Paralympic development. So that's how I got into para archery. You know the lens that you have in yourself on your own value. How am I going to be productive? How am I going to leave a mark or do an impact in your community? You're going to have to decide that even in showing up, you're celebrating your wins, but also acknowledging and being accountable for the times that you did not do what you needed to do, but it's never a loss, it's a learn. And so actually helps us to focus on that, focus on ourselves and focus on our actions. Crime-free looks like me.
Do your part. Join the movement to a safer Bahamas.
Welcome back to the show. So good to have you with us. I've seen your comments in the rundown, in the lines, and it's interesting. So the National Insurance Board issued a statement on its website today clarifying provisions and procedures for pension beneficiaries, care, facility transition, pretty much. NIB officials maintain that pension payments will continue without interruption, recognizing that transitioning to a care facility can incur new financial demands, and where costs are not directly covered by the pensioner or another party, the pensioner can request their funds be sent directly to the institution to cover their costs. Now, the Social Security Organization encourages pensioners to inform them of their transition to a care facility. With all that said, we're taking a look at pension payments with whom we call the Physical National Insurance Act. She's retired NIB executive Pandora Butler. It's so good to have you joining us on the rundown. You know everything NIB, okay? You know everything NIB. I'm just letting you know right now. So when we had questions about NIB, we could think of who else to call other than you because you know the act. You know what it says. So can other people pick up somebody else's NIB check if they're a caregiver?
Someone or anybody could pick up somebody's check if they're given authority to do so. Either given authority by the person who's the beneficiary, it's their check, or they need to get authority to act. I remember hearing, well, not I remember, there's a lot of talk in that saga in Grand Bahama about powers of attorney.
Correct.
At NIB, it's not called the power of attorney, it's called authority to act, and there's a process involved in that. And the law is very clear about all these things. And so I was quite concerned, Clint, when I heard demonstrators talking about national insurance, and even the lady from the facility was talking about national insurance. And I was concerned with what she said. Now, I can't tell you what procedure was followed.
Right.
I can tell you, though, what the law provides.
Tell us.
She talked about and she admitted it. She talked about the lady's checks, getting the checks from NIB.
$900.
And she said to you, this lady is getting lots of money. She's getting over $900, she said. And that's why I was concerned, because $900 is not an assistance, it's a benefit. Here's why I'm making the distinction. The proviso in Regulation 14 of the Benefits and Assistance Regulations does indeed give NIB the authority to pay some money to the facility, the in-house residential facility. However, the law limits that to assistance. The law actually says, in the proviso in 14, it says old age non-contributory pension, invalidity assistance, and survivor's assistance. And as far as I know, since I retired, there's been no amendment to that part of the law.
Wow.
And so, as far as I know and understand, it's the assistance that can be targeted. And there is a limit on that as well.
Really?
So if you're giving the person's assistance, and you know why that is, because the spirit of that law, the whole assistance, the welfare component of Social Security, says we're going to give needy people, needy Bahamians, some money, a little bit of something to tide them over, or to keep a roof maybe over their head, to give them something to eat. And so then if you are not doing that for yourself and you're living in one of these facilities, then why would you get the assistance? And so it says let's give it to the facility. But here's the rub. The facility mentioned in 14 explicitly says Sandlands Rehabilitation Center or such similar institution. Now my question about that is, what was the spirit? We know what the letter said. What is the spirit of that? Is anybody monitoring that to see if that person is a whole $900 going to someone, where you interviewed somebody from social services and that person actually said to you it costs about $700, if I remember correctly?
Yeah.
You asked them about how much. I don't know if that means they figured out that's how much it costs to house a person in residence, or that's what this person is charging. I don't know. And so if this person is charging, why are you still giving them our money, the people's money? So those are some questions I would have. Now, that facility, that provision in 14 does not apply to benefits.
So if you're receiving a benefit check, you can't use that for this.
You can't tell NIB. You, as the provider, cannot go to NIB and say, send the checks to me. Let me tell you why.
Why?
There's a government institution that used to contact us, and I dealt with them. And they wanted to make that happen, a government institution. I said, no, the law doesn't provide for that.
Oh, my God.
It's on you. If you take these people and you don't know how to take care of them, that's on you. Now, let them get their money and then they pay you. You have the authority to do that, but NIB does not have the authority to take your money, because guess what the law says? The Act itself says in Section 32 about benefits, Section 36 about assistance, your payments are to be inalienable. What we say, we break that down, non-assignable, non-transferable. So that is, if you have a man, for example, receiving $800 a month in disablement benefit, and he gets some children he ain't taken care of. The woman can go to the court and tell the court, let's put a lien on his money. Let's garnish his benefit. It can't happen. The law is very clear. It's not there to pay your bills. That's yours. You earn that. Now, if you have authority to act, and again, there's a process to go through that. You can't just automatically go to NIB and say, give me that money because they ain't paying me. That's on you. You took them in.
Jesus of mercy.
Now, I can't tell you what happened in the whole saga. I can't tell you. I could just tell you what the law says.
What the law says.
That's what the law says.
That's what's scary, because a lot of people work in institutions today that don't understand the law.
I'd like to think they do, and I'd like to think it was done properly. I'd like to think it was misrepresented, what I heard. I'm just hoping what I heard was misrepresented.
I hope so too.
Because, and then she said, you asked the question, so can they get the money back? And she said, well, they could go to NIB and
It doesn't
Something
work
she
that
said.
way. Yeah, she said they can go there and they can
How
just
did it
sign.
happen in the first place? I don't know. I don't know.
Because she's saying that she has an arrangement where she gets it. So now that they taking care of her, they can go there and she say just sign.
I don't know.
Do you know that to be a process where somebody can just go inside?
If she was given authority to act. That's something that has to happen.
Well, we know that the power of attorney on Friday is in the hands of the sister.
Different
and
issue,
the power
yes.
of attorney that she claimed she had was never registered.
So was due diligence done when we talk about
let me sip on my water.
Authority to act? And did she have that? And I'm just curious. I'd like to think that my former colleagues are doing what they know to do and what is right to do. I'd like to think that.
What is this tonight? Sip on water.
I'd like to think so. And back to the institutions, even if your assistance, again, that's under $300, that's why that $900 had my...
That stuck out to you?
If you're getting an assistance, the institution keeps 90%, and then the 10% goes to the resident.
For assistance?
For if it only refers to the assistance. So you keep the 90% to do whatever you have to do at the house because you're taking care of their needs that the country wants to have met already. So you could take this 90%, and the law even goes on to tell you what that care of the person entails. It entails doing some stuff with the facilities, doing this with the facilities, right? But 10% of that, you can give it in cash or in kind to the resident, buy their little chips or whatever it is they want. So it prescribes what happens to that money. It does not become yours.
So what we found out on Friday on the show was that, because that was a concern raised, because the facility charges $700 per
that's what they were saying. Is that what they were saying? They do charge?
They charge $700 per person.
Okay.
So if the facility is charging $700 per person, they were taking the benefit checks to cover that.
And giving back the surplus.
Well, I don't know if they were giving it back, but they were used when they had it. Well, what you said was so important because your benefit check can do that.
Your benefit check is
only
yours.
The assistance check can do that.
And listen, there are people who may say to me, they may hear me talking and say, but wait a minute. In the case of funeral benefit, y'all do it. Y'all do give the checks to funeral homes.
Right.
Well, they do. Y'all know more.
But is that a benefit
anyway,
or an assistance?
No, it's a benefit. However, in signing that over to the funeral home, you at no point give up your entitlement to that. That remains yours. Your signing that simply says to NIB, I give you authority to give this to them on my behalf. And if at any point during the process you change your mind, I'm taking the body back from you, sending it to another funeral home, NIB then has to follow your instructions and send it to that funeral home. I say that because I've had funeral directors, ranting and raving, they go into the press because NIB ain't pay them because the person moved the body and they already do some work, and you know what we had to tell them, that's on you. You have to go to the person with whom you signed the contract. NIB has to do what the person who's entitled to it tells us to do.
It's 9 o'clock, I gotta go. Wow.
I'm cold.
This is another show. We're gonna book up another show.
Yeah.
Because I believe we have to know what these acts say so that we operate in the law and not outside of the law. We're not saying somebody's doing it, but we're saying that's why it's important to know what the law says.
I'm curious about the introduction to the session. What you said on the website. I'm curious. I'm going to go check on the website and see what that is talking about.
We'll be back. You could be sure about that. That's the rundown. Royston's in the house, getting ready for the 11 o'clock news. So join him at 11. We have the latest from those triple murder at 11. Thanks so much for joining us. Good night. At the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas, I'm Clint Watson, and this is ZNS.